I am actually half Native American. I prefer Native, Indigenous of the Americas. Sayo everyone, the Mistress of Horror here, author DL Tillery, and welcome back to my channel. Before we get started, how about you press that subscribe button, give this video a like, and ring that bell so you know when I'm uploading new videos. Happy Native American Heritage Month. That's right, if you didn't know that, that's what November is. Also, I'm going to share a little bit about me, if you didn't know already. I am actually half Native American. I prefer Native, Indigenous of the Americas, but I cannot really stand being called Indian, and that's because we are not Indian. That being said, you probably can see some of the books in my background that are some of the Native American books in my collection, and this one particular over here is titled Through Indian Eyes. I don't like the title. And there's another one. One of the other ones over here, I think, no, this one has American Indian Healing Arts. So, just before I get started on the video title, I just want to say this because for me, it's one upsetting subject. I don't care for the acceptance some of my people give to being called Indian. We are not. Now, I actually have West Indian blood running through my veins, and in my family somewhere from India as well. That Native Americans are not Indian. So when someone uses that term, it in today's world, like, it's been long enough that we should know the difference. And of course, as a Native and Indigenous person of this country and this land, you can be represented any way you wish. I still cannot fathom or understand the acceptance of the term just because there was a confused party that decided to label us as such. So no, I'm not going to be very accepting of that term. That's not. There is a race of people on this planet that is Indian. There are other races of people on this planet that have Indian in their race title, such as West Indian, because of their connection to the mixture that their race is. It would be one thing if this was the case, if we were related to the Indian race, but we are not. So the fact that we were labeled such because someone was confused, we know who that is, was confused about who we were when he arrived here, or he didn't even arrive here. It was the West Indies he arrived in, and then so on and so forth. So just because certain tones and looks, they guessed, this is your race, and then the whole labeling happened. And I don't see why you should accept that. It's because someone else said you or something, then you should take it. So I'm kind of like, no with that. I'm not very adamant about that. And some of my Native brethren don't like to be called Native American, that's completely their decision. That's fine. But you are indigenous to this land. So indigenous would be better in my opinion. Or you can call the person by their tribe that they're from. I am Gusagi, which is in Cherokee. That's not the original tribe name, but in our language, that's how you say it. But I end up digressing on that at the end of the day, because if you want to be, want to take that label on, that's fine. And when I say it, is nothing against people who are of Indian heritage. It's the reason why we are called Indian. We are not American Indians. As you know, if you're in America, then they label you by your race, at least most of us, at least people of color, I should say. And they have the term where they want to stick your race and your ethnicity when you are a person of color in this country. So you will be, let's say you're African American or you're Hispanic American. But most of the time when you're Mexican, which I am also Mexican, Mexican Puerto Rican, then they really, really, really grab onto that one because they really they have to signal you out. So I'm in that case, and then not it's a thing. So when you're Indian and you're from India, then you would be Indian American, or that's a confusing thing because then you're going to call people who are native indigenous of this land, you know, American Indians. No, I just this is serious talk for me. It's something very personal and serious for me. So I really don't like it. And everyone else can do what they like. They can think what they like. But this is the facts for me. And I have a right to those facts. I am native. So I am indigenous. I don't appreciate it. For me, I will never like that. It will upset me if someone, says that because it's a part of our history, who we are. So the fact that you can't even take the time to know our history of who we are, why we are called Indian sometimes, the fact that it's on some of our books, on our museums, is just mind-boggling to me why that is accepted at all. I do not understand it, and I never will understand it. I don't care if anyone wants to give reasons why this and that. There's this reason. We live in today's world. This is not the past anymore. So I don't want to hear the reasonings why that's on paper, because I had one woman try to tell me why why Indian is used and put on paperwork and this and this. And I don't really care. It's disrespectful. Sorry, it just is. That we are indigenous of this country, of this land. We are natives. That's all that word means. We're native to this land. Why are you calling us Indians when we did not come from India? We could trace our history of where our ancestors came from. Yes, we came from somewhere else, but we are not Indian. So I don't know how many times I have to say that. So how are we called that? Because someone decided that they were better than us, they were over us, they could tell us what we are, because they thought we looked like someone. And what about it? Even if someone looks like someone, how do you think you have the right to label a race of people? Because again, you thought you were better than them. You thought you could do that. Or I thought I was in India because your IQ is 15. But once you found out you weren't, why is that still even a thing? And the majority of people know that this is an issue, but then there's no help with there being people that accept it, that are of my lineage. Like, I can't, but I will not. I cannot. Now, I'm mixed, obviously, as I said, and I have multiple different races running through my veins. I respect each culture that runs through my veins, and this is Native American Heritage Month. Yes, you don't have to like the term Native American. I would prefer that over being called American Indian. And they were like, well, I prefer that. Well, you preferring that makes absolutely no sense. At least Native American means I'm native to the land that is now called America. We can't change at this point that this land is now called America and how it came to be, because it is now what it is. So this is a fact that I am actually a native of this land that is now called America, because it wasn't always called that, but that's what it's called now. That's all that means. Calling me an American Indian means nothing, since I'm not. So when someone gives me that argument, that's what I have to come back at them with. You don't have to like that. Okay, then just be called indigenous to this land, and that's the fact. I like to go through facts, not something made up and just accept it. So no. Anyway, I'm going to digress on that. This is a serious video a little bit today, but we're going to get into the other factors. If you don't know the word I said earlier of the tribe that I am I am from the Gusagi, which is Cherokee. So my grandmother was Cherokee, so, and my father Cherokee, as they like to say in English. But yeah, that's a little bit about me, and this is Native American Heritage Month, and I want to give homage to that by doing a video, and I'm still the Mistress of the Poor, native or not. So this video is made for that. So let's jump into the video. I want to give you some recommendations for Native American Heritage Month, but on the horror side of things. Of course, I'm the Mistress of the Poor, so I have to share with you. There are going to be 3 books that I'm going to recommend for you in this video. So let's jump into the first one. First one is by an author that is up and coming, and I just came across some of his work not long ago, and his biggest seller, a bestseller, is and I have to say the word because it's in the title. The novel that is his bestseller currently is The Only Good Indians. So it is under horror, as far as I'm aware. I haven't read it yet because when I see the word Indians referring to indigenous of this country, I get a little, as you know, a little annoyed with that. But I do plan to read it and check it out because the author is also native. So I'm very interested to read the book because I love horror too as well. And he writes different stories. So one of the recommendations I'm giving, it's not that book, but I'm giving a recommendation of a book that I can recommend because I know about it and I read it. Okay. Book number 1 that I want to recommend for Native American Heritage Month is Mapping the Interior. Mapping the Interior is a spine-tingling Native American horror novella. So it is not a very, very long. It is a novella, so you know where that lies with length. That one I want to recommend. It is very interesting, and just the fact that the author is native, I would definitely check it out. So I want to recommend it for you, and I'm going to read you the little bit of synopsis so you get an idea of what it's about. So bear with me. So pardon me looking down. Walking through his own house at night, a 15-year-old thinks he sees another person stepping through a door. Instead of the people who could be there, his mother or his brother, the figure reminds him of his long-gone father, who died mysteriously before his family left the reservation. When he follows it, he discovers his house is bigger and deeper than he knew. The house is the kind of wrong place where you can lose yourself and find things you'd rather not have. Over the course of a few nights, the boy tries to map out his house in an effort that puts his little brother in the worst danger and puts him in the position to save them at terrible cost. Very chilling. The author is Stephen Graham Jones, since I did not say that before. You can see it on the cover here of the book. And it's very good. I like it a lot. I definitely recommend it. You can get it on Kindle, and I believe there's a paperback as well. You can get the paperback as well, but I have it on here. I'm going to actually buy the paperback because I want to have the physical book in my collection. So that's recommendation number 1. Check out the author too. He has a lot of other books as well. So the fact that there's like horror happening in Native American based characters, which doesn't happen a lot at all, I'm always happy to see that. So I'd recommend, that's my recommendation number 1. Recommendation number 2, The Night Wanderer, a native Gothic novel by Drew Hayden Taylor. The author of this novel is not native, but I like the story. I like the book. I am not one to say that you shouldn't write stories about, like, if you're not that race, then you shouldn't write it. The way that should be said is, don't really try to write a story about the experience of a person of that race, because you can't possibly understand that unless you could live it. So that's how that should be said. You can write any, you have your character be any race, and you're not even that race of people, but don't try to write that person, that race of people's experience through that character. Like, you can't possibly understand. You can research all you want, all that, but you won't be able to because you have not lived it. I'm going to read the synopsis. This one's a vampire, which I was like, what? vampires involved in here. This is my recommendation number 2, and I'm going to read you the synopsis, so bear with me. Nothing ever happens on the Outer Lake Reservation, but when 16-year-old Tiffany discovers her father is renting out her room, she's deeply upset. Sure, their guest is polite and keeps to himself, but he's also a little creepy. Little do Tiffany, her father, or even her granny, Ruth, suspect the truth. The mysterious Perry Laurent is actually a vampire, returning to his tribe home after centuries spent in Europe. But Tiffany has other things on her mind. Her new boyfriend is acting weird. Disputes with her father are escalating, and her estranged mother is starting a new life with somebody else. Fed up and heartsick, Tiffany threatens drastic measures and flees into the bush. There, in the midnight woods, a chilling encounter with Laurent changes everything for both of them. A mesmerizing blend of goth thriller and modern coming-of-age novel, The Night Wanderer, is unlike any other vampire story. This one I definitely recommend. It was a refreshing type of thing because it's just a different setting. And for a vampire too, the fact that the characters are native and then the vampires involved, I was like, yay, like the Mistress is happy, like you put two things together. She loves her heritage and horror, like thank you, and it's coming of age, which I am in mood for sometimes. As you see the cover here, and check out the author. He has other books that are the characters are native, which is awesome. Yeah, definitely check them out. This tale is, of course, it had to be one that's a Wendigo. The author is also not native, but I think the story is good and interesting for sure. So I'm going to read you the synopsis, and I hope you try the book. Successful realtor Lily Blake is disturbed in the middle of the night by two masked men who break into her home and kidnap her two children. The FBI can't find them, so Lily turns to Native American P.I. John Shooks. He asks a Saxon shaman to summon up the Indian spirit Wendigo to find them. But Lily's firm is trying to sell land that once belonged to the Saxon. Now Lily must enter the destructive cannibalistic world of the Wendigo, where she will learn that you should never underestimate the power and force of a spirit betrayed. Yes, so this one is about Wendigo, but I guess that shouldn't be too surprising that there was at least one book in there that was Wendigo based. When I thought about Native American horror, it always goes there at some point. That's why the other ones were also refreshing, because they were a little bit different. And so I recommend these 3 books for you for this month to get your horror taste, but in homage to Native American Heritage Month. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoy these 3 recommendations and give them a look. If you actually read any of these, please let me know in the comments. Or if you have some recommendations for me that are horror and Native American mixture in there. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Stay scared.